All now we started checking the sound, and now it's finally working. Sorry for the small delay. We were waiting for the rest of the people to join. We're just a small group here today, but we would like to discuss with you, to listen to you, what you have to tell us about this new feature that we've been working on. The first thing I'm going to do is just to introduce you to part of the team that is here with me today. I'm here with Ruben, who's the leader of the development of this part of the project, this bidirectional sync. I'm also here with Roberto, who's been working on the GUI part of the project, and also some other parts. He's smiling because he was also working on the CLI mode and so on. And also with Manu, that most of you already know because he's the head of support, right? I'm Pablo, and probably you already know me for the blog and stuff like that. Okay, so what we're going to do is to tell you a little bit of what the bisync does, and especially what we've been doing for the last weeks on this project and the plans that we have for the near future. But this is not really a presentation. This is not really a demo. What we really want to do is to hear from you and to better understand your feelings with this product and the things that you can, tell us how to improve and so on, right? So the good thing is that I'm here with, some of the developers. So whatever questions you have or suggestions is what they are waiting for, right? Okay, so let's start. Okay, if I make my way through Prezi. So first thing, what are the new things that we have been working on since we sent you the first email announcing that we entered the alpha status? Well, the first thing is that we now have GUI support. So you are able to push and pull from the GUI, which is very convenient. The second thing, and Roberto is the one who implemented that part, is the profile support. Is that okay, Roberto? So um, this is one of the things we've been working on now. When you connect to a Git server, it's able to remember uh, the user and password you used, and then it's able to use it again. We'll go through it in a few seconds, right? The next thing is the performance is still work in progress because Ruben is working on that. There's actually a very interesting story here because we are working with a German company called Elego. Is that okay? And they are helping us with the libgit 2 part, right? Because we are using libgit 2 sharp, libgit 2 sharp, and especially the C part because that's just a wrapper, and we are making a lot of while they are working for us, they are doing a lot of contributions to the open source project because we are finding a lot of issues like, connectivity things, performance things, and so on. So I think it's going to be very helpful for the overall project. Then we have better progress both on the CLI and the GUI, and now we support the HTTPS protocol on Linux too. What I'm going to do before going a little bit forward is I'm going to show you a little bit of how the GUI looks like, right? So let's go. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to push a repository. I just create an empty repository, and what I'm going to do is just start replicating, right? So the thing that I'm going to do is actually go to the replication menu, sync with Git, and this actually going to let me enter the URL. What I'm going to right now is a pull from the jQuery repository. Fortunately, I just got the URL here. So I'm going to paste it. It's anonymous because I don't actually need authentication to just pull from it, and I'll start just syncing, and it will hopefully go. One of the things that we are trying to improve here is the performance, right? Well, the first step is just connecting to the remote server, trying to figure out what it has to pull. That's all it's doing right now. And once it goes through that phase, it will actually start, pulling the real data. I think there's a question. Someone's asking a question in the chat, I think. I know it's just, I think it's just Manu who wrote something. Okay, so starting up, trying to sync up. It's taking a little bit, but it will make it, I think. And after that, it will start just pulling the data well. At the beginning, well, the sync is actually able to do both the push and the pull. That's why we call it synchronized, right? Because it's able to push and pull. So the thing is that, well, I will just let it run on the background. I'll go back later on. Maybe we miss part of the progress, but that's not so important. So let's go to the next one. Okay, so the bug fixes. Well, remember we have a place on the web to actually report issues and comments and so on. It's actually called the uh, plasticscm dot user voice, right? We have the general one here, but we have a new area called git bisync, and here we can introduce stuff like, well, you can introduce your requests, right? We have some of them that are still pending, like for instance, the import is taking too long. We are trying to improve that. This error when updating, I think, should be closed already because we're not able to reproduce it, so should be closed, guys. And then we have the ignored.com translation, which it's not yet there. And well, disassociating the repo, which is something that we're still on it, right? So, well, you can report stuff there, as I said, and then the and then well, these are basically the ones that we fixed already. So there was some problems unpacking. These are some of the things that we were working with the LibGit to sharp people. Invalid credential, that's solved too. The out of memory exception, this is also related to the performance. We've been working on that, especially making it less memory intensive. And then also some issues with the move detection, right? So, uh, so the next thing we have here, how it works. I guess you all went through the blog post I wrote, which is actually describing all this stuff, but there's something I'd like to highlight, and is that we are able to pull everything from the Git repository, right? So we are able to pull branches, we're able to pull all the chain sets, the entire repository, but, you know, it's not actually just like a script on top of our SCM or something like that. It's actually that we are talking the Git protocol, as you know. So the first thing we do is to translate their commits in what we call chain sets. So this 6FF87 will become probably something like a chain set 1, then the chain set 2, and so on. We render it a little bit differently, but that's basically the thing. And the very important thing here, as the next slide will show, I hope. Okay. Okay, as the next slide will show, is that, okay, suppose you go and you merge the branch big feature back into master on the Git side. You look carefully, you see I'm using here more or less Git notation, right? So you have the master, that's the head, and just point to the head, and that's how it will actually map to plastic. So the new change will come, the merge link will come, and you'll get actually even the merge links there, right? That's very powerful because you can map almost anything you have in Git to plastic and vice versa. So the next thing, what happens when there are well, more changes, right? Suppose now you go and create more changes on the plastic side, like change at 6 and 7. Okay, whenever you push back, whenever you run the sync, actually you don't have to push or pull. You just run the sync, and there are something to pull. If there's something to push or something to pull, it will just be done by this process, right? Then the next thing is, what happens if you have conflicting changes, right? For instance, suppose we are in sync in chain set 7, something like this, right? And then the guys in Git create a new chain set, and you also create a new chain set. What will happen? Well, now the sync will fail and will tell you, okay, you have to pull first before you push. And that's what will actually happen. You will pull this green chain set. It will come here. You'll have to merge it. And then as the next one will show, once you merge it here, you'll be able to push, and then you get the two orange ones that were created on the plastic side will actually go to the Git side, and that's actually how it works. So the good thing is, first, you can just do it with simple command. You can pull a repository from Git, contribute to your favorite open source project from plastic. Then you get the branch explorer, you get the diff tools, you get the well, you know, all the stuff we have in plastic, and then you can push. Well, that's basically the reasons why you probably started testing it, right? So I'm going to show you a little bit of how it works, but I would like to know if you have any questions so far and you like to share with us, things you've been trying, things that didn't work, things you are worried about, things you like to see in the future releases and so on. So we will really appreciate, guys, if you just ask for your turn and we can just, unmute you and you can ask, or you can ask in the chat and so on. Okay? So it's your turn. Okay. Questions, anyone? Okay, in the meantime, what I'm going to do, because I think I have some issue with my sync, I will show you the one from Manu, who was already running one, right? Maybe I can make you the presenter, Manu, for a second, and then, okay, change presenter. Okay. Yes, now you should be the presenter, Manu, and then you can show us how it looks like. Okay, so what he is doing is he's just creating a new repository, actually called rolling, because he's going to pull from a visuality uh, repository on GitHub. I think Visuality, they are a company doing maps and so on. We know some of the people there. So what he's doing is actually creating a workspace, which is not needed for that. But anyway, now he's going to show the branch explorer and get the URL. Okay. Right click, as I was trying to show you. Sync with Git. Introduce the URL. And then just start syncing. It will start receiving the, okay, now it's saying pulling, because as you see there, it's actually, okay, I have to pull. Then it already created the package, it downloaded the Git package, and now it's just pushing it, writing it to the repository, right? That's basically what it's doing. The good thing, as I said, is that, as you know, you can use Plastic in a Git project, in a GitHub project, Codeplex project, a Bitbucket project, and then just use all the Plastic of all the power of Plastic, and then push back to the, okay, the summary is one of the things that will be releasing this week, right? So this is a little bit of it. And now we can just diff it, see what has been changed, changes in the JavaScript stuff, and then also browse it. I don't know if they have branches or it's just a trunk. Can you move a little bit? I think this is a small one. Yeah, this is a small one, just a single branch. Okay, it's a branch there. So on some merges here and there, we can probably check who's the owner of the chain sets too. Okay, you can browse one. Should be slower, a little bit slower, Manu. Otherwise, then yeah, we can see the owners of the chain sets and so on, right? Everything that has been released. You can diff any chain set and so on. Well, that's basically what we do now from the GUI. Although, as you know, we were already able to do that from CLI already, right? Which is one of the primary interfaces for that. But we wanted to add the GUI part because then it's a little bit simpler to interact with it. So, what's next? Well, don't know if you're still a little bit shy to start asking questions, but it will be really helpful. Maybe you can make me back the presenter, Manu, and don't know if there are questions on the attendee list. Okay. Any questions there? Well, in case you don't have questions now, we'd like to tell you to share what's the roadmap for this. We are really we are approaching the okay. We got a question here from Neely. So He says, do I need to create a new SCM repository in order to sync with an existing Git one? Well, it depends on what you want to achieve. For instance, if you want to share your repository on a remote Git one, what you should do is to create a new one in GitHub, then push your repository in Plastic. If you want to pull a remote repository from Git, one existing repository in Git, and work with it locally, then you have to create a local repository, then pull on it. Because I mean, if you don't do it this way, you could be, pulling into an existing repository and then just create a big mess, right? Did I answer your question, Neely? Maybe we can also unmute you if you want to talk. That's up to you. Okay. So any other questions? Okay, Neely, we won't unmute you then. Okay. So you have any more questions? We are just, whenever we receive a question, we will just answer. In the meantime, what I was trying to say is that the roadmap is the following. We are approaching, well, we consider this like an alpha status. We are running a lot of tests, a lot of automatic tests, because what we're doing is actually to automate sync with a big number of remote repositories on different servers. Although we will be increasing the numbers in the coming weeks, we are rapidly approaching to what we will call beta status, and then we're going to do like a pre-launch. We are going to publish like a pre-launch site. People will be able to register. We'll try to to encourage people to join with some gifts or some prizes or something like that. And then we'd like to get people, sharing feedback, using it on real projects, and actually start growing a little bit from what you said. Okay, there's another question now from Ignacio. So he said he didn't get it well. Sync of conflicting changes, do the merge and push automatically, or you must merge manually and then sync again. Okay. You should do basically, that's a little bit similar to what Git does, because actually there's no better way to do that. Suppose we have conflicting changes, and I will just go back to the slide where I was trying to explain that, right? So let me just go back. If I make my way through Prezi, which I will really try. Okay, so let's go back to the conflicting changes as scenario. So suppose we are at this stage. Just look at 6 and 7. So you created, for instance, Ignacio, you created this green chain set upstairs on the Git server, but meanwhile, on my Plastic server, I create this one, right? So what will happen? If I try to sync, Plastic will check and say, okay, look, there are pending changes to pull and pending changes to push. So we have a conflict. So the first thing it will do automatically for you is to pull the the green chain set into your local repository. So you'll end up with this situation. If you now try to sync, it will also warn you with a message saying, now you have to merge. So you have to merge downstairs. You merge. Actually, the merge could be automatic, but right now, if you end up in this situation, even if the merge is automatic, we'll force you to merge. We can do that automatically for you. We'll probably do it before we actually release the final version. But so far, you have to merge. And then once you merge, you get into this situation, then you can push. And then, of course, there's no more merging needed on the Git side, right? And that's actually, hope I answered your question, actually, Ignacio. Did I? Okay, so question solved. Actually, what we're doing here is that, you can have in your chain set structure, you can have a conflict because this happens, right? But actually, what if actually the orange one touched full and then the green one touched bar? Then there's no conflict at all, right? Actually, we are forcing you to merge because this is what we call a structural conflict, right? But it's not a real, maybe there's not a real conflict in the code. So we'll try to automate this step. Although, it's not that hard sometimes because just, you run the merge, you check in, you create a new check-in, and then you push. There are a few limitations. And now I remember something that I just remembered, right? The first thing is, in Git, you have fast forward merging. We don't have that in plastic because it means a change that it can be in more than one branch. It's something we don't have. So this is one of the things that we didn't solve so far. I mean, you can pull it, but if you are in the middle of a scenario where you are creating a fast forward, we can end up with issues. And of course, we will never do a fast forward, since when you sync, you're working locally with plastic, you'll be doing the merging in plastic. We will always push a new change set, so no fast forward there. Okay, any other questions so far? Okay, Isidro is asking for Linux support. I know you are a big Linux fan. So yes, we already have it on Linux. We are having some issues with the GUI so far. Manu reported this morning that we are having some issues, but okay, it means it's not as beautiful as it should be, but it works. And of course, it's available on the CLI, right? So you can use it from the command line windows. In fact, something I'm going to tell you guys is the following. If you go to our website, to the downloads area, you go to downloads, you log in. In my case, I will enter with my Gmail account, right? And then we have created a new area called Labs Downloads, right? We didn't announce it yet, but you can access it. So you go here, you go to the labs, and in the labs we are publishing the new 4.2 releases. 4.2 is a release we are working with here for already months. There are new features here like the new security system, improvements in the branch explorer, although most of them have been released to 4.1 too. Of course, we have the Git bidirectional sync here. So probably you are currently using, the ones that are trying this are using an older version, the one I actually published with the blog post. You have a newer one with the GUI and everything else ready here, so you can download it. And we are creating a new one every couple of days, right? So you'll be able to access here whatever is new. So check this site, stay tuned, and you'll be seeing here how the releases flow, right? Okay. Any other questions? Okay, Manu wants to add something, so I'll just give him the microphone.
Just, I just want to remember that it's not possible to switch between 4.1 and 4.2. Once you are already working with 4.2, there's no turning back to 4.1, okay? Because there are some security stuff, the new security model, and it is not possible once you migrate it to 4.2. It's not possible to return to 4.1. It's only a remark.
You guys shouldn't be using it for production so far. I mean, unless you really decide to go for plastic 4.2, which is perfectly usable. And in fact, we are going to be migrating some of our really big customers to 4.2 as soon as possible. We are using it for already like 5 months or so, so it's pretty good, right? And of course, the thing with 4.2 is evolving much faster than 4.1. 4.1 is just receiving very, precise bug fixes and so on, and not, everything. That's it. Yeah, I think Manu wants to save some hours of support, so don't go back from 4.2 to 4.1. Okay. Anything else, guys? Please, whatever feedback you have, whatever questions you might have, anything, suggestions, things you like, you don't, things you like to see here, please just let us know, right? Because, well, we'll really like to hear from you because you are the core users using the first release, so we're really, really eager to hear from you. Okay? So let's check if there are any other questions. If there are not any other questions, then okay, we'll end up here from today. If that's good for you, okay? Okay, so thank you everyone. Remember, we'll be available online for you. Thank you, and see you in a couple of weeks with the final release. Thank you. Bye-bye.